Hello guys, Oscar Hotel 8 Sierra Tango November Julian here for Off-Grid Ham Radio. Last weekend, many of you may have noticed I was staying in a hotel room in Berlin, Germany. I shared a post on Instagram showing a Winlink session I actually did from that hotel room. Many of you asked, how is it possible that I could deploy the ham radio station from the hotel room without anyone noticing or paying attention? That's what we're talking about today, a stealth ham radio station from a Berlin hotel room. Stick with me and let's get started.
You are listening to the Emergency Broadcast Systems. This station broadcasts emergency news and official information on the air for assigned area.
Now, normally I would have taken a radio like the ICOM IC705 or the TX500 along with me. This time I wanted to take the smallest radio I have in hopes of not drawing any attention at the airport or loading myself up with unnecessary gear in my backpack. And that backpack had my clothes, my toiletries, everything I needed, plus a small pack inside the backpack for my radio equipment. So for this trip, I decided to take the Xiegu X6100. I chose this radio because of its small size, integrated antenna tuner, spectral display, internal battery, and generally speaking, it's a budget-priced shack-in-the-box and an ultra-compact size. Believe it or not, the entire station was made up of a Microsoft Surface for Winlink, the Xiegu X6100, the Packtenna Mini Random wire, I believe it's called the Packetenna Mini, and 10 meters of RG316 coax cable. That's it, nothing more. Now to be fair, the antenna configuration was a lot of things, but it definitely wasn't optimal. It was a compromise setup which allowed me to make that 80-meter contact. In fact, I think many of you who have been waiting for replies over Winlink to some of your messages probably received a reply last weekend from Berlin. Some of you received a Telnet reply, others received a reply over RF. There's an easy reason for the discrepancy. I didn't want to overload that local gateway, sending and receiving messages with my compromised antenna. It was reliable, but it was incredibly slow. So it would have been unfair for others who were waiting to use that gateway had I simply overloaded it just to send and receive messages. Now, honestly, I didn't have permission to set up that ham radio station from that hotel. My thinking was if I asked, that would give them an opportunity to say no. If I set it up and they caught me, at least I would have still had the chance to try before getting shut down. Now, there's always a lot of variables when we do these type of expedient antenna systems, whether they're in the field, whether they're from a hotel room or from grandma's backyard. Now, we always have to think about the conditions between the station we're trying to connect to and ourselves. We also need to think about the compromises placed on our antenna configuration and how that's going to affect the connection. I'm going to have two serious problems with this antenna deployment. Firstly, the proximity of the antenna to the building I'm operating from, and secondly, the short length of this random wire antenna. Now, there isn't a whole lot I can do about either of those problems, so it's up to operator skill, experience, my understanding of the band conditions and the time of day, and apply those in order to make a successful connection to that Winlink gateway. Now, there was one additional problem to contend with. I could only operate or try to make those connections at night, because during the day, the antenna wire hanging from the side of that building would be too easy to spot. This left me with 160 meters, 80 meters, 60 meters, and potentially 40 meters, although I think the maximum usable frequency wasn't good enough for 40-meter NVIS or ground wave. Now, I did try with 40 meters, but it ended up being a no-go. The station heard me, tried to come back, but the connection between our stations was simply too weak. I didn't give up there. I also tried 30 meters, 20 meters, and 15 meters, but they were all a no-go. Now, I was already certain that 80 or 60 meters would definitely be the band I would make the connection on to that station. It was going to be a ground wave connection for sure, because a NVIS connection with a very compromised vertical antenna is almost impossible. Anyway, I moved over to 80 meters and I had a great connection. Great. Anyway, we got the messages out and we received messages back in. Now, 80 meters was not without its complications. We had to deal with the noise generated from the hotel itself, everyone with their laptop chargers and neon lights and all sorts of things creating noise on the bands. But I was able to use the noise reduction circuits built into the X6100 to burst through the noise and make the connection with that Berlin gateway. Now let's take a moment to have a listen or watch the connection between my station and the hotel and the gateway in Berlin. Now, first of all, you notice there's a lot of noise coming into the radio, which actually diminished the quality of the connection between my station and that gateway. One of the things you'll notice is that I'm using Vara HF for my Winlink connection. I don't actually have a physical TNC like an SCS modem. One of the things I'd like to investigate in the future is if it's possible that an SCS modem would actually provide better performance under these horrific conditions than I'm getting with the Vara HF. It's really a great question. We all know how good Pactor is. We all know how good Vara HF performs under excellent conditions. But in these weak signal conditions, I'm wondering if carrying the additional gear, the Pactor modem, would have provided me a higher throughput in the situation such as we have here. Now, honestly, I really don't know the answer to that question, the Pactor or robust packet versus Vara HF question, but one thing I do know, if Pactor would create a man-portable pocket-sized TNC, I would certainly be willing to give it a try, especially if it was cost-effective. At the moment, Vara HF is brilliant because there's no physical hardware and the price is so low. The Pactor modems are quite expensive and you have to carry around a lot of extra gear. Sometimes the gear is larger than the radio you're using it with. But interesting thing to think about. Now there's one more thing I'd like to show you. Actually, that's the backpack I used for this trip. It's a purpose-built radio pack with individual slots and pockets and compartments for the types of radio gear we actually carry with us when we're operating man portable. Now the backpack is called the Explorer Modular Backpack and it comes from GigaParts. The backpack is something they sent over for testing. I really had no idea about it, but after testing, I really like the concept. The backpack has a sleeve, for example, for your tablet. You can add individual internal bags inside of bags. You can add internal bags for your radio, for your cables, for other necessities or things you carry around for your radio communications. The backpack is purpose-built for radio ops, but honestly, because of all the MOLLE attachment points and the Velcro, you could actually set this backpack up for any 1 or 2 day excursion. If there were any suggestions I'd give to GigaParts about this pack, the Explorer pack, I would say give us a wider variety of the internal bags for individual things like our radios and cables. That would make all the difference. Other than that, I'll leave a link in the description for this backpack. I would seriously give it a thought, especially because it's a fraction of the price of the ICOM backpack, for example. And it really has some good features for radio-specific operations. Now, I know many of you are going to ask me in the comments if I don't do this, so let's go ahead and do it now. Let's measure the weight of the HF radio antenna and the wires. We've got 3 pounds, 3 ounces, and 1.46 kilograms. That's everything. That's the radio, the antenna, the cables between the radio and the tablet. And we could actually get this a lot lighter by using a lighter weight of wire on the antenna. I used something a bit thicker, a bit heavier, so that it would hang and the wind wouldn't take it away and have it swinging around wildly outside the window of that hotel. But okay, we can also measure the tablet if you like. So now we can weigh the tablet. The tablet is 2 pounds, 2 ounces, or 978 grams. That includes the keyboard, and the protective case. We can definitely get the weight down on the station overall. For a 160 meter through 6 meter data station with one wire between the tablet and the radio, it's pretty nice, but we can still get the weight of the station down. All right, guys, it's about time to close down this video. Now, one of the topics which became extremely interesting to me while operating from that hotel room in Berlin was the idea of weak signal communications, or actually poor conditions, where the connection between the station, my station, and the station I'm trying to connect with is extremely poor. You saw that in this video. The question I have, and I've already brought it up in the video, the question I have is, would a Pactor modem or robust packet actually be a better connection in such horrific conditions than Vara HF? This is something I'd like to experiment with on the channel in the future. It's absolutely brilliant using low power, but the reliability of the connections we make needs to be the highest priority. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. The only thing I ask is that you be polite. And with that said, if you like what I'm doing, if you like the content I'm sharing, please let me know by leaving me a comment, a thumbs up, or even a super thanks. And if it's not too much to ask, please share this video with someone or someplace where other operators might enjoy it. Rock and roll, guys. As always, thanks for watching.